of kids angry, so angry.
One of the things that thousands and thousands of white kids and Asian kids have learned going to school with the little chocolate fellas is that black people are not really into white people, especially at an early age like that. So they suffer threats, taunting, harassment, beatings, and worse, robbery. That's going to school, in school, and leaving school. I mean, how many times do we have to see this exact story or hear this exact story told on my podcasts?
A Northeast Ohio mother says her son's school is failing her family after another student sucker punched her son, leaving him hospitalized. As you can see, the whole attack was caught on camera. She says the administration at Lorain High School did not do enough to protect him before and after to keep him safe.
News 5's Amanda Van Allen live in our newsroom. And Amanda, this mother told you she wants answers.
Danita and Rob, that mom says it appears these teens knew exactly what they were about to do because the camera was already rolling before the punch. She says her son lost a lot of blood, but the school only sent him to the nurse's office.
The video is hard to watch, especially for the victim's mom.
I got chills. I started to cry to see my son there so helpless, like nobody wanted to help him.
The recording shows a student walking up to Holly Smith's son and punching him. We are not identifying the students involved.
Breaks my heart to see him down on the floor.
Smith says the school did call her after the incident Friday, but when she picked up, no one was on the other line. She tells News 5 the school never called back or left a message, so she contacted her 11th grader directly.
The messages weren't clear, so I said, you know what, son, it's okay. I'm going to come to the school. I'm going to find out what's going on.
When Smith got to Lorain High School, she says she couldn't see her son for 45 minutes, and when she finally did,
I'm looking at my son, and he's still not looking really. He looked really faint.
So she immediately rushed him to the hospital, where she learned he had a concussion, broken nose, and a busted lip.
The officer came back to me, the principal came back to me and told me that he lost a lot of blood. If you know he lost that lot of blood, that should have been immediate paramedics, and it wasn't.
And that's not all.
The school didn't press charges?
No, I insisted that it get done.
The juvenile in the video is now charged with felonious assault. Lorain City Schools sent over an emailed statement. It reads in part, "The incident resulted in the immediate suspension of one student. As with any incident that causes a disruption to the learning environment and or jeopardizes the well-being of our scholars and staff, the Lorain City School District condemns such behavior." Smith insists the school handled it poorly and wants better protocol put in place for the future.
I want justice for my son, and I also want to be that voice for the next child.
Smith says the school needs more staff in the hallways and better training. Her son has not gone back to school since the attack. She says the video has been shared all over social media, and anytime her son leaves the house, people make fun of him.
There is no protection for the kid. There are no consequences. No, getting suspended is not a consequence. When you beat the piss out of somebody and all you do is get a one-day vacation from school, that's not a punishment. That's a reward. And now the school officials are throwing their hands in the air and saying, oh yeah, we condemn this. That's his punishment. We are going to condemn this. Well, that's really kind of the same thing we see happening in other places around the country as well. How about all the cases we've seen over the last 2 years, starting in St. Louis, Missouri, of the woman who would not let a black person into her condo complex because he did not want to show his key. He just wanted to come in behind her without letting her shut the door.
I live here and you're blocking the door.
What unit?
I don't need to tell you that.
As Diarian Tolles tried to walk into his luxury apartment complex in downtown St. Louis.
Ma'am, you're not security. You're not the property manager. You're not Mike Herman.
No, but I live here.
Okay, and I live here too.
The businessman was blocked by this woman, even though he had a key to his building.
All I'm asking is what unit?
But you're not, I don't need to tell you that information, ma'am.
If you want to come into my building.
It's not your building. You're not the owner.
Tolles eventually pushed his way in.
She was branded, scorned, held up for national ridicule. That's happened several times since then. And since then, we have done over a dozen stories in that exact same scenario where the fella goes into the condo, robs, steals, and kills somebody. Or in this case, rapes somebody.
Last week, prosecutors allege Love waited behind the back door of an East Side apartment complex near Prospect and Brady and forced a woman into a stairwell trying to rape her.
When someone takes advantage of you like that, especially in your own home, where you're supposed to be safe, there's a lot of anger and guilt.
The woman who spoke exclusively with Fox 6 Tuesday night says she screamed for help as Love got on top of her and pulled his pants down. Police say Love eventually ran away.
You can think this is the safest area, you can think it's never going to happen to you, but it does happen.
The woman was left with bruising on her lip, face, and back. She was able to identify Love through photos. Security cameras captured his face. Prosecutors say Love later confessed.
So whether the super smart Poindexters on TV, radio, and newspaper columns figure this out or not, the rest of us have figured out if we are going to protect ourselves in any situation, we are going to have to take responsibility for that. That's why so many people are carrying concealed carry permits along with a gun. But here's the reminder. Just because you have a license to carry, that doesn't mean you have a license to kill. You guys must remember this story from just a couple days ago. A fella came storming out of a store, pushed this guy to the ground. He takes a gun out and shoots him. But right when the fella saw this guy with a gun, he took a half a step back and he turned. And so that 1 second window was enough for the cops and district attorneys to say, yeah, that was a bad shoot, even though one of the district attorneys after the shoot said, yeah, that was self-defense. The state, people from the state came in and said, no, we're taking that white dude to trial for murder, and they got him for manslaughter. Ditto out in Dayton, Ohio, a guy with a heavy Mexican accent saw a couple of kids out in his garage one night. He takes a gun out there. The kids are no longer with us. And this dude might be going to prison if the mayor of that town has her way.
The frustration was clear as people spoke Wednesday night, angry about no arrests after police say a homeowner shot and killed 2 teens he found in a car in his garage last week on Connor Street.
These young men were killed, murdered. And we know what murder looks like.
And the people who spoke to Dayton City Commission were not the only ones who called this a case of murder. Mayor Nan Whaley also frustrated.
2 17-year-olds who were, I believe, murdered and, might not be able to be prosecuted because the state legislature in December made it more difficult to prosecute cases like this.
Whaley is talking about changes in Ohio law that took effect this year. It's now up to prosecutors to prove someone did not act in self-defense after shooting someone.
I think it's bunk.
Another commissioner called for new, quote, sane legislation. Meanwhile, calls for more information about the case.
I appeal to you, Chief Bill, to update the community.
Moments after that, Chief Richard Beal walked to the podium and gave an update. He says his officers have more work to do before they can decide whether to bring charges against the man who pulled the trigger.
So we're not there. We're on ongoing conversation with the prosecutor's office.
Whaley, for one, says she hopes the man who fired the shots faces punishment.
I hope that there's a way that consequences could be made for that.
An armed robbery turns deadly in Fort Lauderdale, but it's one of the suspects who would not make it out alive. Surveillance video shows the moment one of the armed robbers pistol whips the clerk in the head and demands cash from the register. It happened just after 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon at the Valero gas station on the 2400 block of Sunrise Boulevard. You can see the other robber reach over the counter to grab the cash. The armed suspect then forces the clerk on the ground and demands he gives him the gun he knows he's hiding. The bad guys taking off with the cash, the gun, and 2 cartons of cigarettes. What they didn't know was that the clerk had a second gun hidden and wasn't afraid to use it or give chase.
They ran out through the alleyway, and then my guy went behind them and shot at them.
The wounded suspect dropped off at a fire station in Hollywood. The Broward Sheriff's Office now confirming that suspect is dead. Neighbors heard the whole thing go down.
I heard the gunshots. That's what woke me up. Seen him standing right there. I didn't see who he shot at. Nothing.
I just heard like a couple gunshots. When they tried to rob him, they ended up shooting him. So if he shot at them, they deserved it.
Surveillance video also shows both suspects arriving at the gas station just before the robbery. So far, BSO not confirming if the second suspect is in custody. As for the clerk, we saw him moments later, his head bandaged up, but otherwise okay.
I actually thought I posted this next video, but I didn't. Anyway, it's a story about happened just a couple days ago in Philadelphia. About a week or so ago in Philadelphia, a fellow walks into the PCS, throws a bag on the counter, says, "Give me some phones." Turns away. The guy from the behind the counter stands up, shoots him dead.
The big story on Action News tonight is the apparent street justice doled out by a store clerk when a would-be robber tried to steal from that store.
Police say the Metro PCS employee pulled out a gun and started shooting, killing the man who police say came in to hold up the place in Southwest Philadelphia. Tonight, the entire incident is under investigation, and Action News reporter Bob Brooks live at Southwest Detectives with more on what we know right now. Bob.
Well, Ryan Shari, first off, you hate to see anyone lose their life, but in this case, that suspect, again, he walks into the Metro PCS. He has a gun right in his hand, and the store employee inside, as you're about to see in this video, was more than ready. It was just after 4 o'clock this evening. A would-be armed robber walks into the Metro PCS at Elmwood Avenue in 70th Street. He's holding a gun in his right hand to rob the store. He has his hood up to try and hide his identity, but the employee was ready. Without hesitation, he pulls out a gun and fires. The suspect died right in the store. Police say the employee had a permit to carry.
The employee has a permit to carry and it's valid.
Off-camera, Metro PCS officials say the employee has had previous military training. And police say when they saw this video, they weren't surprised to hear that. The suspect was shot several times. We spoke with a neighbor who heard the gunfire from outside the store. He sadly says things like this have been happening all too often around this neighborhood.
I mean, it's just the normal. It's the Southwest. You know, this is an everyday thing. So it's nothing new for us.
But once Johar Don says he knew what the details of the shooting were. He was sad someone was killed, but says people have every right to defend themselves.
He was doing his job. And of course, he's standing his ground, and I'll support him in whatever he had to do.
Okay, Brian, one of the reasons...
The district attorney has come out and said he's not going to prosecute that guy who defended himself and shot that other guy dead. Which to me is a little strange because this is one of the worst district attorneys in America, Larry Krasner. He's down with the cause. And if you look, I can't find this other video. I thought I did this a week ago, so I stopped looking for it. But there's another video where it shows the complete shooting. The guy shoots him once, he goes down, and once he's down, the guy comes out from behind the desk and shoots him a few more times. I'm very surprised that liberal district attorney in Philadelphia did not bring charges on this guy. Out in Lincoln, Nebraska, yes, Lincoln, Nebraska, home of the Nebraska Corn Huskers, a woman was in a Quickie Mart, whatever they call them out there, and the fellow was inside doing all sorts of argy-bargy, stealing stuff. I think he may have assaulted the clerk. He's running away. The woman takes her gun out. She has a concealed carry permit. She shoots the dude while he's running away. Now, she has been charged. You know, if you ask any psychologist, they will tell you that just looking at a picture of a gun, its stimulus response, looking at a picture of a gun will actually stimulate feelings of, hey, I want to go shoot a gun. And carrying a gun may do the exact same thing. But we have lots of cops really, really strong on this. And there's really 2 points of view here, right? I mean, there's the point of view of a prosecutor and the point of view of a prospective juror. But all of us have to know that if we're carrying guns around, we have to kind of stay away from situations, casual situations where we might pull our gun out in marginal circumstances and end up doing 30 years in the state slammer for what most of the rest of us would consider self-defense.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
Because shooting one of the fellas when he comes in to rob your cell phone store, nah, I don't make the black kids angry.
Angry, so angry. Don't make the black kids angry.